you very much. And I know we're at Herstelling here tonight. And the reason why I'm saying this, that most of you would have seen that Basil Williams went on the East Coast to speak. And he said, good hope, good hope. And the people said, no, 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 you're at Cove and John. We at least know our geography. And if it tells you that one little incident tells us about the tragedy that we have in this government. We have witnessed 5 years of unbelievable incompetence. And many people can't tolerate incompetence if it doesn't affect people's lives. But their incompetence has cost us so much in terms of development. Just a few days ago, we saw exposed one of the greatest acts of incompetence and possibly corruption of this government. The Global Witness, an international NGO, pointed out that in the ExxonMobil negotiation, that we lost 55 billion US dollars. Just imagine what 55 billion US dollars means. Last year, we collected in Guyana just 1 billion US dollars in taxes, 226 billion Guyana dollars. And that means a loss of $55 billion in those negotiations would be 55 years of taxes into the future. All the taxes that people pay in Guyana, they've given up 55 years of those taxes. When you take 55 billion US dollars and you multiply it by the exchange rate, that is over 11 trillion Guyana dollars. That means for every man, woman, and child in this country, because of their incompetence, we lost over $15 million. That is for every single person who lives in Guyana. And so sometimes it's good to laugh at incompetence, but their incompetence has been a tragedy for our country. And we cannot have this any longer. That is why people across this country have resolved that after March 2nd, they would no longer be there as the sitting government. Comrades, the billions that they have siphoned off through acts of corruption are again a big drag on development. So this government has given one man, just to give you a couple of examples, they have a crony, one of their friends. His name is Larry Singh. They invited him to their offices and gave him $25 million of taxpayers' money. And he then took the $25 million and bought a house in South Georgetown. He rented that house back to government for $12.5 million a month. Imagine, in 1 year, one man collects more taxes in rental than they spend on health in the entire region 4 on capital. In fact, he collects twice as much as all the people who live on the East Coast, the East Bank, and Georgetown have spent on them for health care. So the corruption is taking a lot of money away from development. They have single source the purchasing of drugs. So we're spending nearly 1.5 times more than we spent in the past. Billions of dollars more on purchasing drugs, but we're getting less, nearly half of what we used to get because of the corruption. That is why you have the shortages. So the corruption is siphoning off from development too. It's affecting all of us. And that is why on March 2nd, we have to end that too. We have to make sure that a PPP government gets back into office so that it can return these resources to development. And comrades, the extravagance is another tragedy on the people of this country. So when they claim that they could not afford the $1.6 billion in school that we spent on the school children, but in the same budget, they increase spending on food in this government by $1.6 billion. When we don't have drugs in the hospital, but they can spend on the ministers over $600 million on sending them and their families across for overseas for health care. When they spend $1.1 billion more per year on local travel and subsistence for ministers, then their extravagance is costing all of us. When Granger builds a fence and paints it green, and that fence costs us $150 million around the office of the president, or he takes $50 million of our money and spending on painting State House green, or he buys 44 new vehicles for his office, or he travels with 9 outriders, that's costing you too, your children, that's costing development. That's where the money goes. And so on March 2nd, we have to end the extravagance too. We have to end it. Every single thing they've done, every single thing they've done in these years have been to the detriment of our country. And so, comrades, they have not only have they destroyed the path that we were on. When we left, when we took office, as you heard from Samuel Hines, that the circumstances were very different than the one we left them with. When Chetty Jagan became president of this country, at that time, 153% of revenue went to pay debts. We had to borrow just to pay debts. And in spite of that, we paid back $3 billion of debt. That's over 600 billion Guyana dollars. And we still moved our country forward. At that time, the roads, East Bank practically had no road. It took you 3 hours nearly to go from Georgetown to the airport. You couldn't drive in the city. Blackouts lasted 2 weeks at a time. People forget these things. They had no drugs or beds in the hospital. Rats used to eat off babies' toes in the hospital. Even the rats were hungry. And the infrastructure was totally destroyed. There was no housing program. What you have here on the East Bank, there was nothing. You had cane fields. You had cane fields. No hospital. You didn't have banks. You didn't have all the houses built here. That was a desolate country that we took over. Nothing worked. The hospitals didn't function. Our schools were falling apart. And we worked very hard with our hands tied behind our backs. Imagine if we did not have to pay back $600 billion of debt, how much more we could have achieved in those 20-something years. But in spite of paying back the debt, we moved our country forward, and without all money, because of our economic philosophy, because of the way we manage this country. And comrades, that is crucial. When they came into office, we left the fastest growing economy in the Caribbean. This country was booming. Nobody thought that in 5 years our country would take such a steep decline. They've spent $1.1 trillion, increased taxes by $91 billion more per year. Imagine after 23 years, The total taxes collected in 2014 was $135 billion. That is for all of Guyana. Last year, it jumped to $226 billion, $91 billion more per year. And where does this come from? It comes from you, from your pockets, from the people of this country. If you take $91 billion more out of people's pockets, that is why things are so slow. People are losing their jobs. We've lost 30,000 jobs. The cost of living has gone up. The markets now, people complain, nothing is selling because they've sucked so much money out of the system through higher taxes. And what did they put the taxes on? Things that you need to use. Food, baby diapers, baby milk, data, medicines, electricity, water. All of these things have had higher taxes. All the fees have been raised. And therefore, that is how they're living. They've borrowed another $900 million. So they collect $91 billion more in taxes. They borrowed $900 million US dollars. They're taking us back to the past. And they would burden the next generation with this huge debt again. And if we don't get them out, that is why it is so crucial that we get them out on March 2nd, because another generation will have to come back and clear up their mess. We have to get them out. And you've heard us speak many times. Many speakers tell you, not only have they taxed us more and borrowed more, but they're using up every cent that we have left. They reduced the financial reserves at the central bank. They sold off $20 billion of gold that we have there, it's gone. $10 billion from the Geology and Mines Commission, gone, bankrupt. The Forestry Commission, another $5 billion. GWI is now bankrupt in spite of the fact that they have increased water rates, apart from putting the VAT on water rates. These are all things that have been done. Bankrupting El Frenali left $8 billion in the housing fund. That's disappeared too. And they have not developed a single new house lot. Not a single new house lot. So this can't continue. If this way of managing our country continues, we'll get poorer than most countries in the world. And so, comrades, you know now that we can never trust them. Today, APNU launched a booklet, and they called it their manifesto. And so, guess what they said? It was like a comedy show. It was not a launch of a manifesto. It's a comedy. Don Hastings said, this is a great document. I only had a glimpse at it, but it's a good, great document, and it will move our country forward. Imagine the incompetence, but the tragedy of it too. One of your speakers on the manifesto said she had a brief glance at it, and she goes there to launch it. She doesn't know what is in it. And she doesn't know what it is in it, and she doesn't care what is in the manifesto or the booklet, because they have no plan of keeping any of those promises made there, like they put in their manifesto in 2015, when they kept no plan. And then Trotman said, Harman said at the same launch this morning, the green and yellow taking over the whole world. Somebody in Dubai sent him a picture, and they have green and yellow with an APNU flag. Now, how asinine could you be, a jackass, kind of comment like that? One man from Dubai send you a picture, and you're taking over the world with your colors. And the man who they might have sent him that might be the man that they sent to park the money that they're stealing in Dubai. That is probably what he meant. And then the Trotman suddenly come out back. He's been hiding all the while after he signed that contract. He appeared today and he said, even the babies are wearing green and yellow, and the animals too. And I'm not joking. If you don't believe me, read this damn thing. And that is today, and these people expect us to take them seriously. And this is a launch of their so-called manifesto. And then Granger, he knows nothing, he hears nothing, he sees nothing. He said, oh, you don't look for specific policies. This is a general gaffe at the launch of a manifesto. And you look at our manifesto, you look at it, you read it, you see specific policies in every single area. I'm not going to talk about them tonight because you've read them, and I know our candidate, presidential candidate, you're waiting to hear from him about those issues. Real plans for the changing this country. So this bunch is hopeless. They're untrustworthy. No piece of paper, anything they write, they can make every single promise in the world now. Who would believe them? The sugar workers believed them in 2015, and look what they got. They believed them, many voted for them. They thought they were going to get 20%. They got 0 in 5 years. They got 7,000 of them lost their jobs now. You go to Wales and see the depression, or in the sugar belt. People can't feed their families now. Many of the rice farmers believed they were going to get lots of money too. What it got them now? Higher taxes, land rental charges up, the taxes on machinery and equipment, the cutting the drainage and irrigation budget, cutting the farm to market road budget. Lifeblood of the agricultural sector gone. Granger promised to develop housing. He wanted everyone in 2014, 2015 manifesto to own their own home. We told you already, no new house lot. Not a single new housing scheme have they built. On the other hand, they put the taxes, the value-added tax on stone, sand, cement, and other building materials. But now they're talking, as we approach elections, they're clearing some old pieces of land at the back there and telling people, apply for this, you'll get it next year. But they didn't tell that to their friends and family. 10 of them got 60,000 acres of land. Imagine what that would mean in Guyana's context. That's over 200,000 house lots that could have been developed. One man at MMA, the former chairman, 2,000 acres. The current chairman, 10,000 acres. Eric Phillips, a ton of it. On the East Bank and the East Coast, all the lands that were taken away because of the closure of the sugar factory, they've given it out. You heard about the Maria thing, but that's not the only land that has been given out. One of their candidates on their list has gotten over 150 acres. So from and more to Diamond and even further, all the lands there, they've given away to people. These are lands that we have to use to produce more housing, to create more housing. And because in our manifesto, that's a promise. And we also promise that we're going to take back every bit of the land that they gave to all their buildings. So all of them who are trying, they see the writing on the wall. The last couple of days, they're trying to sell out, to flip their land, to sell it out before March 2nd, and take the money and probably run with it. If Finale was telling me the largest amount of gold went out this week or something, it seems as though they're converting the money and shipping it out now because they see the writing on the wall. Wherever they take the assets, we're going to track it. We're going to trace them down and run. Two ministers, they heard about the oil and gas pipeline was supposed to go in Mahaica area. They bought over 1,000 acres of land there. One minister is calling people in Suriname, asking them if they don't want to borrow some money. At the GRA, they're trying to get rid of the documents because they sold land the vehicles and other things to themselves. Some, they like the Minister of Finance, got the GRA to sell his son and one member of his family 2 vehicles at 250,000 Ghana dollars each. Patterson has had his finger in everything. And you know his name is Sticky Finger Patterson. Everything. The overpass, something stuck from his finger on these overpass too. Now we put up a sign, coming soon, you get a bridge across the river. But ask him about how much they hustle from the feasibility study for the river. Ask him how come the Demerara River is now owned by Serato Phillips from the bridge out to the Atlantic. Half of the river is owned by one person that they give it to. Ask him how the best foreshore, they gave another 50 acres of land for the people there, people who live in Plastic City, etc. Everything is corrupt. They're getting all of these people. So, no promise that you can believe in. You saw the children at the University of Ghana, they talk here about free education. They promised that the last time too, the fees went up. They promised the pensioners to double old age pension in the first 100 days. What did they do? They increased the pension by $4,000, but now with the higher water charges and with VAT on water and a whole range of other things, medicine, etc., pensioners are worse off than before. They promised Amerindians, they went into the hinterland and promised our Amerindian brothers and sisters that they will accelerate land title. None of it. We left $10.2 million. Instead, what did Keith Scott say in the parliament? That Amerindians are greedy, and if they get more land, they must not benefit from oil and gas resources. That is how they treated Amerindians. The miners also, not just the sugar workers and the farmers, the miners, just the sector nearly collapsed because of the higher taxes of this government. But trust me, not only are the sugar workers and the rice farmers waiting for March 2nd, so too are the miners and the Amerindians. They just can't wait for that day to come. So you don't need me to tell you that anything you hear from them, you can't trust anymore. They have no plan, they have no achievement. All that they can do at their rallies is to cuss their PPP, myself, and Irfan Ali. But we don't care too much about the cussing. Irfan is big enough, he can handle it. Right. He can handle all the cussing in the world. And me, I got hardened to it already. They can't do anything about that. So, we're not being distracted. We have a specific plan for the country. And so, comrades, tonight, we have seen 5 years, not 5 years, actually, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, because sometimes even I make the mistake of saying 5 years. But you remember that they were there from 2011. In 2011, November, when we had the elections, they won a one-seat majority in the parliament. So they controlled the parliament from 2011 to 2020, nearly 9 years. And what did they use the control of the parliament for? In the first 3 years between 2011 to 2014, 2015, they cut $90 billion from the budget. They blocked the hydropower that would have started producing power in 2017 and see electricity rates come down by half. That is what they did. They cut money from the Amerindian Development Fund, from the students' loan. That's what they did before 2015. And sometimes we forget that period because they've been controlling the parliament since 2011. And that is why we can't have a narrow victory. We're looking for at least a 10-seat majority in the next government. The win has to be massive. That is why every single one of you matters. I come to these meetings often to ask for help. The last local government election, we won over 50,000, nearly 50,000 votes more than them. In all of the regions, Region 6 and the East Coast, and Region 2, and in Region 3, many other places, we had a massive lead ahead of them. But what happened on the East Bank? East Bank, we only had 3,000 net votes more than APNU. And that is because a lot of our people stayed home. Sometimes they just are they can't make the commitment. Well, we are fighting now for our future, the future of our country, or the future of our community, the future of our family, the future of our children. A lot is at stake, not just whether we have jobs in the future or we're treated with dignity, but our very freedom is threatened. You heard Granger himself, after he violated the Constitution twice. Twice he violated the Constitution, and he just declared that he wants to change the Constitution to remove no confidence vote. Now that betrays a dictatorial tendency. Leaders don't talk about that. That provision has always been there in the Constitution, but this is what Granger wants to do. And he's recently said that he wants to take away dual citizenship from people who have left Guyana. So if you have your families who live abroad, now they'd have to come in with a different passport. They take away their Guyanese citizenship. And many of you who have two citizenship, you lose one. Well, thankfully, Granger will not be there to implement that, because Irfan Ali will do. Every president, even from Burnham, had those powers, but they never spoke about it. This guy, he is so intoxicated with power. He believes he is God. That's why he behaves this way. He's above criticism. He needs 140 policemen to protect him. He believes he can change our Constitution with impunity or disregard the Constitution. Only dictators behave that way. And if he wins the elections, that's precisely where we're going. We're going back to the past like we had for 28 years. And we can't allow that to happen. So when you vote on that day, you know it's not just about the economy and jobs and cost of living and better health care. It is the very nature of our freedom that is at stake. And that's what you're voting for too on that day. So comrades, do not worry. They try to intimidate people. You don't hear about the rumors. We're watching them too. Everybody, they're spreading to their supporters because they see the massive crowds. They're spreading to their supporters, oh, we got something up our sleeve. We can still win because we're gonna try to tamper with the elections. To give hope to their supporters, it's false hope. We're watching everything. We had to get Justice Patterson removed because with him there, we would never have free and fair elections. We had to stop the house-to-house registration because they would have tampered with the voters list there too. We got it stopped. We prevented the merger of 37,000 names, many who were unverified. And now we're checking the list, and I expect every single person here to check the list once it's out. It's already out. Check your names on the list. That you're in the right place, you know where you're going to vote. If you've been displaced by one village, make a plan to go there. We can't lose a single vote, and I'm counting on you, not the activists to come and check. 5 persons to come around and check by your home. You do it on your own. This is your investment for our future, and I expect all of you to do that. There are going to be lots of international observers here from all the agencies. In GCOM now, there are several international technical assistants to oversee that they don't do wickedness. And we have strong polling agents too. So don't worry about the rumors about rigged elections, etc. APNU would always try to intimidate people. You heard Walter Lawrence, etc. But we can't succumb to any intimidation. So if you stand, you go in the line on that morning, whether it's raining or the sun is hot, we stand there until we get to vote. Whether the line is moving slowly because someone is trying to frustrate you, stand your ground. If you have anybody who tries to intimidate you, you stand your ground. You come from a party that is not easily intimidated. We in the PPP, we took on APNU in the last 4.5 years, 5 years. Imagine if we were not there, how much worse it would have been if our party didn't take them on. None of these small parties that are coming around had the gall. In fact, they were never there. They can't even speak up now against APNU. They're scared of them. The People's Progressive Party, your party, has been the only party standing up for the people of this country. And so you too can stand up on that day, then and now, though we are not going to be intimidated. And every one of you need to walk, not just Herstelling, but wherever you're from, walk every street, get every voter out. As I said before, these elections are crucial. Let me tell you, before I close, that the oil and gas sector, we're going to make that work for our people. We're going to make sure that the foreign oil companies understand that this oil and gas belongs to our people. It started under the PPP, Janet Jagger, 1999. They found oil under us, and then these people made a mess of it. We're going to ensure that more jobs come to our people, that more benefits come to them, that they can, Exxon and all the others, spend more money here, because Guyana, it is Guyana's turn to enjoy the benefits there. And all of your families, one way or another, will get the benefits from the oil and gas sector once the PPP is there. So comrades, once again tonight, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you in advance for standing up for the work you will do in the remaining 3 weeks. And I want to thank you in advance for what you will do on polling day. You're doing this for our country and for yourselves. And your party will be fully behind you. So onward to victory on March 2nd. Thank you very much.